I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and it's time to get wealthy. You're going to learn exactly what you need to know and do to finally achieve the level of financial success you desire and you deserve. Well, you've heard the saying, scared money don't make money. Well, I'm excited because our guest today is showing women how to invest fearlessly. So kick that fear to the side and finally achieve the sort of peace and financial independence that you desire. So here are the 3 takeaways from today's show. The first takeaway is that, or what they don't want you to know, is that investing isn't for the rich. It's how you get rich. And you don't need a lot of money to invest. What you need to do is get started. And so with that, I'm excited to introduce our guest today. She's Cassandra Cummings. She is founder of one of the fastest growing online communities for women around investing. And she is also about to launch her new book, Fearless Finances. Cassandra, welcome to Get Wealthy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm excited. Where I really want to start, Cassandra, is, I want the audience to get to know you. Like, how did you even get involved? What was your first introduction to investing?
Well, my first introduction into investing was when I lost my father and I actually inherited a death benefit. And so that was really exciting to learn about the world of investing, but it was definitely bittersweet having lost my dad. And so I was sort of thrusted, into this world of finance, given that I had to now manage a pretty, large sum of money for a 17, 18-year-old. And so it just really introduced me to investing, because with the death benefit came a set of financial advisors. And so I had to learn quickly, it was sink or swim, about investing.
So that's interesting in that I can't even imagine how that felt being, the age that you were. And if you think about those financial advisors, how did you feel not knowing? Did you just trust that the advice that they gave you was sound, or did you feel like maybe you needed to know more?
Yes, I was definitely going in uncharted territory, but at the same time, I was soaking up so much information. I was reading everything I could get my little hands on back then. And then in part, I did trust that these financial advisors knew what they were doing. And so, that led to a series of decisions that later came back to bite me. But I was able to, come through that having, taken an L, as I say, and it was more of a lesson than a loss.
I love that. I mean, I love to say is that you never lose, you either win or you learn. Mm-hmm. And sometimes those best lessons are learned when you lose. And certainly that's my own history, starting out as an advisor and losing a lot of money with my clients, not understanding really how the financial markets work. So I feel you there. I feel you. And then my other question for you is, how did you get started? So you get this lump sum of money, you have to navigate what to do with it. Mm-hmm. And then how did you eventually matriculate into the investment industry itself?
So when I went to college, I actually was paired up with a mentor through my university's, program. And so they actually paired me up with a wonderful Black woman by the name of Angela. And Angela was actually a bond trader when I was a bushy, bright-eyed 21-year-old. And so I got an opportunity to really see her operate firsthand in this financial, arena. And it led me to eventually work for her when she was a director at a large insurance company. And so I learned under her tutelage. And then she sort of gave me an ultimatum: get all of your securities licenses in 6 months. And I did it in 7. And then I hit the pavement and I went out and began helping people plan and save for retirement. And that's really where I sort of cut my teeth on financial advising.
I love it. I love it. You know what? We do have a lot in common, because also when I was introduced to the industry, the first Black account executive in that Merrill Lynch office was a woman. And she basically was who really encouraged me to get my Series 7's license. So we're learning a lot. I'm excited not only about the work that you do, of course, but also that you didn't just take it upon yourself to stay within the industry and, sort of focus on that aspect of building a business, but you also have a mission of helping other women of color get access to this information. And so I really want to start there with mindset, since you've then had like a lab, right, of women there teaching them how to invest. I am really, really interested, and I think our audience will be too, about what you've learned about the mindset that people have that possibly is preventing them, right, from becoming fearless when it comes to their finances and investing. So I want to start there.
Yeah, I think the number one thing that I've learned on this journey in working with so many women around money is that they really believe that they don't deserve wealth. And so I think that's really where it starts. You have to believe that this is accessible to you. You have to believe that you deserve to be wealthy. And I think once you get over that and you have the belief that you can actually go out there and achieve a certain level or a desired level of wealth, it's just amazing how the universe moves around to help you achieve that goal. And so I think that oftentimes exposure as well, lack of exposure in our community also hinders people's ability to achieve a certain level of financial outcomes as well. And so I think those two coupled together, belief along with the exposure, allows people to push past those fears around money to really get to where they want to be financially.
As I think about that too, talking about mindset and beliefs and exposure, one of the impediments really, I believe, to people investing really are times like these, right? Mm-hmm. So, we're hearing recession, we're stock market volatility, interest rates are going up, and most people are exposed to investing now through their 401k. When we started, that wasn't necessarily true. But I guess the point I want to make is how, it's almost like the chickens have come home to roost. And now people have an excuse, even in your community, to say, oh, see, I told you, as soon as I start investing, the stock market goes down. What would you say to people about the mindset that they really have to build in order to stay the course, as you say in the subtitle of your book, your new book, Fearless Finances, and we'll get to that, time-tested principles. What is the mindset that people need to have, and so that they aren't fearful at these times?
Yeah, I think that the news and the media, they do a great job of creating panic and, frantic investors, especially when you are relatively new to the markets. It's not a good feeling to see your investments take a little bit of a dip. And so for those that are investing, you have to know that this is a long game. It's not a get rich quick sort of scheme. And so you really do have to be in it for the long run. I tell my ladies oftentimes that Warren Buffett did not invest and become rich overnight. If you actually look at the trajectory of his investing time horizon, he really did not become a billionaire until he was in his 80s. And so he had been investing since the age of 11. So it's really about time in the market and not timing the market. And that's really where I think a lot of new investors really miscalculate how powerful investing in the stock market can be.
Oh, I love that. And then I think, you talked about exposure and inclusion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sure there are people in our audience who are saying, well, I don't have a lot of money. And so I don't have a lot of money. And that's why I'm afraid to take risks. What would you say to someone who has that mindset?
I say that the stock market has something for everyone, whether you have a small fortune or whether you have a large fortune. I think the biggest thing is that you just have to get in the game. You can't be on the sideline expecting you're going to have all of this financial success. So you have to be in it to win it. And that means getting started, whether it's with a small amount of money or if you have a large amount of money in a savings account that's not working for you, you have to put your money to work for you. If that money is just sitting there, not doing anything for you, you're really doing yourself and your money a disservice.
I love the way you put that because, what people need to realize is that if your money isn't growing, you're actually losing.
Yes.
Right. And now you put inflation into it right now. We're seeing numbers that we haven't seen for decades,
Absolutely.
but annual inflation of 8%. So if you in a savings account, right, you're losing money. And so the other question I had for you is the opposite of that is what about people who have built quite a nest egg and they're thinking, well, how do I know I need to be investing, but I'm afraid to lose what I've worked so hard to accumulate. And I think I have found, and the studies even show that when the market gets volatile like this, particularly African-American investors have a tendency to want to bolt and run. What do you say to someone who's in that particular kind of situation?
Yeah, I think that I would say for sure that you have to understand, again, that this is a long game. And this is when the getting gets good, right? Because a lot of companies go on sale during these type of economic downturns. Now, there are some companies that weather the storms, and I've been through two really impactful recessions where people have come out on the other side of these recessions very, very wealthy. And so this is when millionaires are made, when we have recessionary periods such as this, because those that actually don't have fear of the markets going down, they rush in, they buy up everything, and then they actually sit like fat cats when we turn the corner and go through a recovery period in the stock market. So Warren Buffett has a great quote, right? When others are fearful, be greedy. And when it's time to be greedy, be fearful. And so I think that you really have to stick to that mantra when you're a relatively new investor. It's time to be greedy.
I can't argue with you with Warren Buffett. I mean, he brings the receipts, right? One of the wealthiest men, not only in America, but in the world. And then finally, I have, one other question for you. And it really is about this fear. And it's recently a study came out that Ariel did about crypto, digital currency, and that African Americans, specifically young African Americans, being, some of the more African American households own crypto than any other segment, right? And now we see crypto has been very volatile. And so when I think about mindset, it being a long game, what do you say to people who maybe their first experience was with crypto? Now they're seeing this. What would you say about investing overall and that being a new asset class?
Yeah, cryptocurrency is really hot right now. And so people are really drawn and attracted to crypto. When you have these sort of asset classes that balloon out of nowhere, not really out of nowhere. I mean, crypto's been around since the early 2000s. And so, African Americans, actually millennial African Americans, there's 1 in 5 that actually have crypto. And so what I would say is that, again, it's due to experience. Again, if they have this being their first sort of introduction to investing, they've got to stick with it. A lot of people didn't become wealthy with Bitcoin overnight. Bitcoin didn't really start taking off until around, 2012 per se. So people who got in early back in 2008 and so forth, they actually did really well. And so what I try to tell my ladies is that investing oftentimes is like watching paint dry. It's boring at times, and you really have to wait it out. Patience is rewarded when you're investing. And so for my, investors who are out there riding this crypto wave, they really do have to be patient, because oftentimes this is what happens, is that when it's quiet, right, there hasn't been a lot of attention around crypto lately, with the exception of it sort of crashing. Again, a time to rush in and grab some crypto coins, because once the spotlight gets back on crypto about its highs, then it's going to be too expensive to get in at that point.
It's interesting that you say that, and I love that you're giving some historical context to it around, Cassandra, around you being through, 2 really severe recessions. I do liken Bitcoin to, if we were to think of the last severe recession, right, 2008, 2009. And all of the .com fallout, right? It wasn't that those companies, online stock trading. I remember PSI Net that used to be on the Ravens studio. All of those companies, and I can go back even further. Seagate Technology, LSI Logic, those investments, tradering. Right, pets.com. And then, eventually it was just very early stage. I don't know if I would consider, I guess I would still consider crypto to be early stage, just in terms of a 9-inning baseball game. We're still about the first or the second, right? And so This is when you're going to see the volatility. So when we come back, though, I want to go to the second aspect of this framework, and that is strategy. I would love for you to share with our audience, what are the types of strategies that they need to apply if they're going to be a successful investor that's fearless about their finances and that can secure their bag. And so when we come back, it's strategy. Folks, don't go anywhere. Next, we're going to talk about strategy with Cassandra Cummings, the founder of Stocks and Stilettos, and her upcoming book, Fearless Finances. Don't go anywhere.
Let's be honest, as successful women, we're crushing it. Maxed out 401k and Roth IRA? Check. Aggressive savings and investments? Check. Yet, the freedom our success was supposed to buy can leave us stuck on the 6-figure hamster wheel, watching retirement slip further down the road. There's another way. Get coaching courses and community at wealthyu.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Deborah Owens, and you're watching Get Wealthy, and we're certainly helping you get wealthy today with Cassandra Cummings. She is founder of Stocks and Stilettos, one of the fastest growing online investing communities for women of color. All right, Cassandra, you've talked about mindset and the fact that people really need to look at investing as the long game. And now I want to shift a little bit to strategy. So many people have invested certainly through their through their employer, and a large proportion of people, their investments are in mutual funds. But you are stocks and stiletto. So I want to talk about, what advice do you give to your members just around getting started investing in individual stocks?
Yeah, I think that when it comes to investing in individual stocks, you really do have to look at a two-pronged approach. You want to have a dividend income investing strategy. These are going to be your companies that have been with us true and true. They're well established. They pay dividends, but not only do they pay dividends, they actually increase their dividends on a regular basis. And so I think it's really important that you have at least a dividend income strategy on one hand, because you need those types of companies to sort of stabilize your portfolio. And with that, you have these companies that basically reward you as a shareholder. And so who doesn't want to secure their bag by making their money work for them using a passive dividend income strategy? The second approach would be a growth strategy, and that's really focusing on companies that have a lot of potential to provide you with capital appreciation. So we saw a lot of companies do stock splits recently. We've got Amazon, we had Shopify, we also have Google splitting. And so we have a number of different companies that are making it affordable and accessible for you to get in at a great time where their stock prices are affordable for you to be able to, provide growth in your portfolio by getting in at such a low, entry point with these companies that have the propensity to be really, really large companies, again, when it comes to their stock prices.
Excellent advice. And I would say, I know that so often people are given advice like invest in what you know, or, which is not necessarily always a good idea because sometimes it's trendy stuff, right? Things go out of style, not necessarily a great approach to picking stocks. But what advice would you give? Like, what process, what resources should people use if they really want to learn about investing in stocks so that they're able to evaluate?
Yeah, I think one of the things that you can do to evaluate stocks, oftentimes I point my ladies to Morningstar.com, because if you invest in mutual funds, if you are investing in ETFs, oftentimes you can go and see what Morningstar rates that ETF or that mutual fund at. And so it's, out of 5 stars that they will rate those mutual funds or ETFs. So that's a starting point if, in fact, you're not sure what you're looking for. Count on a trusted, reputable resource like a Morningstar. You've got great websites out there now. Oftentimes your discount broker, like the Fidelities, the Schwabs, the Merrill Lynches, they have great platforms where they do a significant amount of research on companies that's really at your fingertips. And so oftentimes I tell ladies, all of the information you need is right in your phone. And so you're looking for companies that have the potential to grow, innovate. They take really good care of their employees. Management is top notch. So those are some things you should be evaluating as you are sort of discerning which stocks to add to your portfolio.
And, the other thing, Cassandra, I wanted to talk to you about, I know that people sometimes reach out to financial advisors or investment companies, and they actually do want to invest in stocks, but they're sort of dissuaded from doing it because, oh, you don't have enough money or that sort of thing. And I am a proponent really of that. People need to be like in it to really understand what is happening. And so my next question to you really around strategy is, if I don't have a lot of money to invest, what are some resources that I might look at that I can invest, before you need thousands of dollars? What resources are your women in your community using to get started who may not have a lot of money?
So we have out there in the landscape now what are called micro investing apps. And so these micro investing apps provide a low barrier to entry. Oftentimes you can start with as little as $5 to get started. And so you'll see, or most have heard of Acorns or Stash app. And so these are great products, great apps where you connect those to your checking or your savings account, and you're able to get started with investing with relative ease with these sort of new apps that are on the investing streets, as I like to say. And so you can start there. There's also a great app that's actually in its beta phase called Bump. And Bump works very similarly to a lot of rewards programs or affinity programs that are connected to like your debit and credit cards, where as you're out making purchases, you get cashback rewards that actually go towards the purchase of stocks that you select. So if you frequent Starbucks, or you frequent Home Depot, or you frequent, these sort of retailers, you can actually purchase fractional shares of these companies as you're going out about your daily life. So there are definitely ways in which they have made it so easy for you to get into the investing game.
Love it, because I really feel like that really has been an impediment for, your point at the beginning of the program around mindset was really the lack of, exposure, right? And access. I mean, those two things. And it's just, to me, one of the most significant things that have happened around investments has been this micro app. And hey, girl, you're dropping some real gems. Bump. I believe that was a great idea, because connecting what you buy, what you're purchasing, to being able to invest is really awesome. And so when we come back, we've talked about mindset, we've talked about strategy. Next, I want to talk about execution when we come back. And of course, execution around all of the different concepts and ideas that you have in your new book that's coming up, Fearless Finances. So don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and hopefully you're getting wealthy and you're getting access to the amazing knowledge from our guest today, Cassandra Cummings. She is founder of the Stocks and Stilettos community with over 100,000 women of color, helping them get access and to resources and knowledge around investing. And so now we're going into execution. So Cassandra, one of the things I often say is that knowledge is not power. I mean, you're giving women access to all kinds of information. You have online courses and communities. We're talking about all the ways that people can invest, but it means absolutely nothing if they don't actually apply what we're talking about. So first, I want to talk about your book, Fearless Finances, in this segment, because I really believe it lends itself to execution. So let's begin by just talking about why did you feel like it was time for you to write a book specifically titled Fearless Finances?
That's a great question. I felt it was time because I kept getting a lot of the same questions about how I actually went about my own investing journey. And it was a process. I grew up from humble beginnings. And so I had to learn a lot about how money works. My mother was, she didn't graduate from high school. She only could read up to like an a fourth grade level at that time. She does better now. But I didn't learn a lot of my money lessons from my mother. In fact, she was a stickler because we grew up on welfare. We didn't have a lot of money. So learning about money and moving into the world of money, I had to overcome a significant amount of fear. And I had to really eradicate some limiting beliefs about money for myself. So I felt like it was time. This book was overdue. We have a lot of books on the market that really talk about how to get started and, the very beginning aspects of your money journey. And so we needed something that was for a grown woman. I felt we needed something that, you've saved a little bit of money. You've got a great credit score. You already save in your 401k. What's next? And so this is what's next. This is the next level, overcoming that fear to get in the market, to create wealth for yourself. So I do have a copy of my book here, Fearless Finances. And so it's a timeless guide because it walks you through 3 phases of what I have identified and what I have actually gone through on my own wealth journey for creating and building wealth, which is actually, I'm drawing a blank now. It's survival, right? So you have to get out of survival mode. And so there's some things that you do that you put in place so that you're no longer just surviving. Then you move into stability. So you create a firm foundation for yourself when it comes to money. So you have to make sure you have a place to stay, that you have your retirement in place. So there are some fundamental things that you have to have before moving on to the last phase of wealth building, which is surplus. So now that you have accumulated a certain amount of savings, a little bit of a fortune, you've got a place to stay, you've got all of this in place. Now, how do you actually pour gasoline on that? How do you accelerate and really take off on your wealth journey? And so I talk about that in that 3rd section of my book, where we talk about how to create a passive income strategy, how to actually save and invest in real estate, which is going to really accelerate your wealth building activity. And how do you actually aspire to become an accredited investor? I think that conversations around becoming an accredited investor are just not had enough in our community. But that's really what the end goal should be if you are serious about investing.
Well, the reason I wanted to really touch on your book at this part of our conversation is that Fearless Finances, that title kind of hit me in the gut because, I've been doing this for 2 decades or more. And, you give all this information, you give knowledge, you give access, and then you see that it takes people years before they act. And I feel like so much of it is an inside job, right? So you can know exactly what to do and still not do it. And so really focusing on that mindset aspect of it is really, really important. But here's one other thing conversation I wanted to have with you, Cassandra. What I know, I'm a former financial advisor. You're a financial advisor. And I know there are many people that reach out to financial advisors, and sometimes because they don't have enough money or whatever, they don't get access to the information. They walk away feeling bad. Oh, I don't have enough money. Well, how do they expect me to invest? And so I wanted to ask you just a question around, just based on what you've seen in your own community, Do people need a financial advisor? And if so, what are some of the questions that they need to ask and they need to do in order to find someone to be a part of their team?
Yes. So I want to back up just a little bit because you talk a lot about new investors not having enough or thinking that they don't have enough. And oftentimes what I do is I help ladies change that narrative, right? So if you come in with that mindset, like I don't have enough, I can't get started in investing, that's going to create blockage. It's going to create, hindrance for you to get started. So oftentimes what I tell my ladies is that you need to say, what do I need to do to get enough money? Or what can I start with, right? So this is what I have, and this is where I would like to be. Where can I actually get started? Or how can I afford to buy X amount of shares, right? And so we really have to sort of change how we view money, how we talk about money, even with ourselves. And so that mindset shift is really big. In terms of going to a financial advisor, oftentimes your very bank or credit union has a financial advisor that they employ to actually work with customers that come into banks and other types of financial institutions. So you can start there. You don't have to pay them. I did that at a bank here in Northern California, where I was the financial advisor inside of a bank branch in a affluent area. But nonetheless, if someone had a question or they wanted to get started, the bank tellers or the bank management would send them over to my desk, and I would actually educate them, get their first account open, and we would, go through a process of, okay, this is what you can start with. This is how much money you have. This would be great for you to take a look at. And then ultimately they make that decision. And so working with a financial advisor, and I think working with one that's connected to your bank, helps to reduce that fear too, right? Because the bank's not going to hire somebody off the street, right? You have to have certain licenses. You have to have certain level of experience to even work with people inside of a bank institution. So I would say start there. That way you don't have to feel like you have to have a significant amount of money to get started. And oftentimes, because they are employed by the bank, it's no cost to you.
Yeah, no, my thought was what we've had, what I've experienced is that some people have reached out to, not the bank, but other institutions, and there's a whole high net worth, right, aspect of advising. And if you don't have enough of those assets, some have reached out and been turned away. And so I really appreciate your sharing, what are some things that you can do? You may not qualify for this, but don't let that hinder you from getting started, because I feel like people have a sense of shame, right, around feeling like they don't measure up. And that can be in so many aspects of our experience or community. You can't get into this, you can't get into that, right? And that is, a part of this environment, this financial services landscape, that people can have experienced that. And so I love that you showed them, hey, flip the script, like there are other avenues, you just have to go out and find it.
Yeah, there's levels to this, right? There's levels to this investing game. So you can't, work with, say, a multi-million-dollar broker if you are not there yet. And so what's best for you to do is start where you are. And so if you don't have a lot of money, oftentimes you can start at the bank, but as your portfolio grows, as you become more knowledgeable, then you can move on to those brokers that have access to more financial products and instruments to really help you accelerate your money. But getting started, learning about, the different products at a much lower level helps you when you get to, those multi-million-dollar brokers, because now you have a foundation, what questions to ask. There's nothing worse than turning your money over to someone and them not working with you on educating you, and then them not, really telling you what they're investing in and you not knowing what to ask. I think that's the
Yes.
biggest thing, is that you turn a portfolio over to a multi-million-dollar broker. You don't even know what questions to ask. And so when you're starting with a financial advisor who's going to take that time and really walk you through what they're going to put in your portfolio, is that okay with you? This is sort of what the outcome would look like if you invest in these sort of things. You don't really get that. You don't really get that so much with the multi-million-dollar brokers, because they're there to really move money around. So they don't really have time to educate you. They're really trying to just get the transaction done. So you really have to, start where you are and build up to that, because there's levels to this.
I love it. There's levels to this. And when you get access to the kind of information that we're talking about today, that then you know how to navigate this financial landscape. Everything is not for everybody. I get you. So when we come back, I'm going to talk with Cassandra. It's our Analyze, Optimize, Maximize segment. And when we come back, Cassandra, I want to talk to you about someone in your community who had maybe came to the table just starting out, and now, based on the knowledge that they've applied, they've been able to secure their bag and kind of look at that. I'm sure you may have some examples in your book. So when we come back, it's our Analyze, Optimize, and Maximize segment. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, host of Get Wealthy, and that's exactly what we're doing today. And our conversation today has been with Cassandra Cummings, and she's been sharing insights from her upcoming book, Fearless Finance, as well as dropping all kinds of gems about how you can accelerate your financial growth. So Cassandra, in this segment, I know that you've had so much, 100,000 women, and you've been on this mission for years. Mm-hmm. And I would love for you to share with the audience someone who maybe got access to stocks or stilettos, or maybe they were a former client and went from knowing nothing to really being able to secure their bag. What are some of the attributes that they use? So can you think of anyone that would inspire our audience today?
Yeah, absolutely. First person that comes to mind is my girl in stocks and star, Alicia. When Alicia came into the society, she was introduced by a friend of hers. And she was like, girl, you got to get in to the community. And she had been looking for something because she had received not one, not two, but 3 potential layoff notices with her, Fortune 100 company. And so she became fearful that she was going to lose her job, lose her income. And so she started to seek out ways in which she could take the money that she was earning on her paycheck and really maximize that, if you will, should she be handed a pink slip. So she came into the society, she took one of our free challenges, and then from there, pretty much she's been on fire ever since. And so she has built a great retirement portfolio. She has also learned how to do short-term investing by trading in options. She knows how to trade futures. So she has a lot of different, strategies in her toolkit to be able to make money now and to also save for retirement. She has also bought an investment property. So this investment property pays for itself because she has a second unit. And so the unit basically covers the mortgage, and then she rents out her primary home to a family member. So she has no mortgage that she pays for. Everything pays for itself. And then she recently, along with another investor, they have come together and purchased an investment property outside of the United States in the Dominican Republic. And so she has been on fire, and it's just been phenomenal watching her grow. And this has all happened within like the last 3, possibly 4 years. So she has been really intentional, and she overcame a lot of fear when she first got started with us. So I'm really excited to see ladies and women like her really kind of break through those barriers and accelerate. I mean, it really doesn't take a lot of time once you get in the right communities. You know, your tribe is your vibe. And so when you get into those communities and you see other people accelerating and excelling and doing well financially, you can't help but, you know, have some of that rub off on you.
Oh, great story, and exactly the kind of story that I wanted you to leave us with, because if I were to look at that story, analyze, optimize, maximize, I feel like she represents what the goal is, right? Mm-hmm. And so rather than being fearful about losing your job or anything like that, you have, if with the right tools, you don't have to be fearful of loss, because that's what wealth is about, right? Mm-hmm. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life without you being fearful of someone else taking control. So love that story. And then the other thing that I think is really interesting is that she didn't just stop there. She didn't just start investing, but then she went into other asset classes, right? So you talked about futures and real estate, and finally maximizing it. It sounds like being in that being in your community is really allowing women to create. That's one of the other things I know you talk about in your book, and that's creating a team and a squad. So before we leave, I would love for you to share with our audience why that circle, that team is so important.
Oh, it's so important. You know, and I talk about my trajectory as well in the book, because I could not have gotten to where I am today without the people I crossed paths with. And so being able to really evaluate people who are going to be a part of your success squad is very key, because you can't really get there alone. You're going to need people to help you, because there are people who are smarter. There are people who are much more knowledgeable. There are people who can help you be a catalyst to really building wealth that you want for yourself and for generations to come. So after each chapter in my book, I talk about who you need in your life to really help propel you to a place where you want to be in your, you know, with your finances. I also highlight what we call fearless figures, women who have actually overcome their fears and have done some phenomenal things in this world of finance. We've got Devon Reeves, who is a hotel investor. She got me plugged in, and now I'm a hotel investor. We've got, you know, Robin Watkins, who is the first Black person to launch a SPAC. And now they have a ton of money where they can invest in other Black-owned companies that will eventually go public. So they have so many, you know, great stories of Black women in this book who have overcome some fears, and they're just doing some incredible, amazing things with money.
Love it. And that is the importance of a team. It's never the how, it's usually the who. And what came to mind is a Nipsey Hussle quote. Are you in a circle or are you in a cage? Are you in a circle with other people who inspire you and help you go higher? And that's certainly what you've been sharing with us today. Cassandra Cummings, author of Fearless Finances, also founder of one of the fastest growing community for women of color, stocks and stilettos, who are learning how to do just that, invest in stocks and build wealth and secure the bag. Cassandra Cummings, please let our folks know how they can get in touch with you and learn more about your community and your book.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I think this has been a great time hanging out and chatting with you about wealth. You can follow me on Instagram at Stocks and Stilettos. You can also join our tribe on Facebook at Stocks and Stilettos. And you can check out my website at stocksandstilettos.co. What a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Oh, always a pleasure to see you. I count you as one of my tribe too in the circle. And thank you so much for inspiring women to go higher and actually take ownership of their financial success. Thank you so much, Cassandra.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, when we come back, the 3 takeaways that you should have from today's show. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
Over the window seats. These are the only bins that will accommodate larger overboard bags.
They put 10 in here?
10, and you don't come out till you die. And you eat him, you hoop him.
Oh my God.
So what?
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network. And I hope that you've gotten some great insights from today's show about becoming fearless with your finances. So here are the 3 takeaways from today. First, investing is not for the rich, it's how you get rich. Second, you've got to face your fears to really achieve financial success. And then finally, it's important for you to build your wealth squad. And with that, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Get Wealthy, where we teach you how to finally achieve the level of financial success you desire and you deserve. I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, host of Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.